This video might be one of the most important lessons if you want to get wealthy in crypto. Not rich, but the truth is, most people are doing it wrong. In today's video, I'm going to show you Kathy Woods interviewing the CEO of Coinbase, and we are so unbelievably early, but most people are doing it wrong. The reason why is we've been deeply indoctrinated into a system to trade time for money and wait for a savior. And a lot of people think that crypto is going to save them financially, but all it's going to do is put them in the same position financially. So we're going to break down in today's video an interview with Kathy Woods and the CEO of Coinbase, talking about institutions aren't even here yet, guys. There's trillions of dollars coming into this market. We're also going to watch a video where BlackRock, Larry Fink, shares with us the whole system is about to switch. Buckle up. Let's get right into it. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for joining this channel. Like, subscribe, and comment. Here we go. So let's dive in. So the first video we're going to watch is the CEO Spotlight from Coinbase, Building the Future of Money in the State of Crypto Summit. Okay, so now this is an interview where Kathy Woods, she's one of my favorite investors, is interviewing the CEO of Coinbase. Now, one of the things that we talk about a lot in the academy is the speculative phase and then the utility phase. We're still deep in the speculative phase, but I want to have them explain it and then I'll narrate it. And I'm going to show you a video with Larry Fink from BlackRock talking about, guys, everything is switching. But on the back end of the video, I'm going to share with you the key factor that will separate those who make money in this space and those who repeat the same cycle.
Can you talk a little bit about, institutions, what you're seeing from an institutional point of view, and actually why the take-up is perhaps so slow?
Well, I think you're correct that retail did jump into this space a little sooner over the last decade. But I'd say in just the last year or two, we've seen an incredible amount of institutional adoption. And I feel like institutions are fully in it at this point.
Really?
I mean, we released some stats in this State of Crypto report that showed 56% of the Fortune 500 executives report their company is working on something on chain in crypto, right? And so,
okay, so this is really important. So they have 50, did you say 50 to 54% of institutions, they're involved, but there's something we've been talking about. Remember, first they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. We're in the regulation and joining phase. Until there's full regulation, they're not going to pull the trigger fully.
So it's the biggest companies in the world. BlackRock is helping tokenize real world assets. JP Morgan has an on-chain project called Onyx. Google Cloud is accepting crypto payments. St. Jude's Hospital, and then fintechs like Stripe and PayPal, they're adding stablecoin support. So 56% of the Fortune 500 is doing something. I think this is really here to stay. It's already happening amongst institutions, and Coinbase can play a big role there too. Our Coinbase Prime product is the most successful in the institutional space, and we've got about a third of the top 100 hedge funds are clients. A lot of them are also looking for that regulatory clarity moment. And I think when I talk to the institutional investors, often they'll say, once we feel like there's regulatory clarity, which will not be some moment in time, it's just it's a gradual trend that's happening.
Key, write that down. It's a gradual trend that's happening. That's why your thesis and your game plan is going to be really, really important. Stop waiting for a savior. Stop waiting for a specific date. Stop waiting for this influencer to tell you on this day the switch is going to be flipped. When we say that type of stuff, it is a slow, methodical transition. This is going to be a transition all the way through 2030. It's a transition in your financial system. So there's going to be waves of energy, which I'm going to explain on the back end, and there's going to be dumps. And you have to understand how the markets work in diversification as well.
Happening. They're like, that's what would cause us to put 5-10% of our portfolio in instead of a couple percent.
Key.
That's interesting.
Okay, so another thing you said, 5 to 10. Imagine if they started putting 5 to 10% in, guys. Do you realize that is going to cause massive price appreciation?
Different perceptions, because having just launched the Spot Bitcoin ETF, what we've seen is none of the major platforms have approved it yet. So the flows we've seen, and they've been great, have either been just from retail or they've been donated by Grayscale. A lot of it was donated by Grayscale, but we're still waiting for an approval, even from the platforms that do tend to approve new, interesting, different financial instruments, they're waiting. And maybe all this is we need one, and then there'll be a very rapid adoption, because competitively it's going to be very important to have this new asset class, we believe, on platforms.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think you could argue we haven't really seen the real inflows happen even in ETFs, and they've already been really good. I mean, from the numbers I've seen, there's far more demand in ETFs than is being mined every day from Bitcoin, for instance.
That's
which
wild.
is a positive indicator. But you're right. I think Morgan Stanley, UBS, some of these firms, they haven't really enabled the ETFs where we'll see even larger inflows in the future potentially. I don't know why that is, but the ETFs were actually is an area where we did get regulatory clarity. So this will happen in bits and pieces, and I think it's an incredible first step.
Okay, so it's going to happen in bits and pieces, problem, reaction, solution, right? We're going to see this throughout there. First, they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. So the key factor around this is for you to develop patience, to not be caught into this short-term mindset, this price appreciation mindset. When an announcement happens, all of a sudden, it didn't go up and you get frustrated. We got a message from somebody recently, like, I sold all my XRP. I'm done with this. I'm like, wow. Okay. And that's a personal decision. But the reason why they sold it is because, these announcements keep coming out. Nothing happens. The Bitcoin ETF got approved. And it's like, each person has their own journey, right? I have an investment thesis. I'm a long-term fundamental investor like Warren Buffett in crypto. That's my thesis. I pull profits when it goes up, which I'll break down. I just want you to hear this first part of this video from Larry Fink.
IMF and the World Bank were created 80 years ago when banks, not markets, financed most things. Today, the financial world is flipped. The capital markets are the biggest source of private sector financing, and unlocking that money requires a different approach than the bank balance sheet model of yesterday.
Yep. That's key, guys. What he's saying right there is the traditional banking model isn't working anymore, guys. The private and public sector have to come together. Trump said that, I think, 7 years ago. Even playing field, private and public sector coming together, guys. They've been setting us up for this for a very long time.
There's still a lot of work to be done, but reform over the past 8 months have resulted in billions of dollars of new dollars for the developing countries' infrastructure. That's what you saw last week with the announcement of the Investor Coalition. BlackRock, GIP, KKR, and other major firms will deploy $25 billion in Asia's emerging economies. In a way, it's an Indo-Pacific counterpoint to Italy's Mattei plan, which is helping African economies grow, and that's important. Every country in the world needs a growth strategy.
Okay, so this is a global thing happening. Okay, so let me share with you how a lot of people we see, we've coached over 8,000 people since 2020, and just being fully transparent, guys, I was in a vertical strategy. And the reason why I got so obsessed with this is because I got wrecked so many times. I lost my money 3 times. I had to ask myself why. Okay, so first time was self-induced 17 years ago. I've told that story a million times. I left corporate America in 2017 to start my own company, which is thriving now. But I spent all my money building it. So I spent my 401k, I sold my house, I did all that stuff. And thank God I did, because it worked out. But then finally, when it worked out, the pandemic hit and they shut our business down, right? But I was in what I call a vertical strategy, right? So I was waiting for a savior. And I remember this wise counsel came in one day and I was talking about, I was inside of my business. I hadn't scaled it yet. I hadn't learned how to scale it properly. So I'm going to share a few lessons today. Number one is, I had this conversation with somebody. I was like, when XRP does this, when crypto does this, I'm going to retire. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean when crypto? So you're waiting for crypto to do this in order to do what? And they said, what are you talking about? Crypto is not your retirement. Like, that's an extremely speculative asset on the risk pyramid. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, you don't mix your investments with your retirement. And I'll explain that. Okay. Now, a retirement is an investment, but what they were saying in that moment took me a while to digest this. I'm like, They said, what's your diversification strategy? What do you have outside of crypto? So when I was an executive, I went to school, I got a job, I had a 401k, vertical, hoping that the 401k when I retired would be favorable, right? Hopefully I wouldn't be like a 2006 or a 2020, right? And I'm at the mercy of the market. It's emotional. JP Morgan, billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts, right? That's hope. It's not a strategy. So he's like, what do you have outside of that? What do you have for protection? What do you have for diversification? And then I started to, for me, I was like, okay, cool. So let me understand what he's saying. So he brought up insurance. So then I started to use insurance in 2020. I'm like, oh, okay, I see there's a model here, right? And so what I started to do, and the reason why I think a lot of people, and I saw a lot of people get wrecked in 2022, is they were super excited. The bull run hit, and then I saw everybody lost their money. Well, what I did differently is as it went up from 2020 to 2022, studying Richest Man in Babylon, intelligent investor, cash flow quadrant. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get that extra money that was made out of the market, and I wanted to get it into things that were secured, that compound, and that created passive income. So what I did was I took the 50%, and I didn't get all the 50% out, but I went into insurance. So that guaranteed my principal. It gave me compound interest, and it gave me ability to borrow tax free. So that was we called it index strategy, but that was like let's call it a security strategy, right? I also invested in my companies. So I went from one company to two companies to three companies, and I created companies that I could scale up, that I could create passive income, right? So then I was on the upper right-hand side of the cash flow quadrant. So I went from being an employee down to self-employed, which is trading time for money. Then I stopped trading time for money, and I created businesses with systems and processes that allowed me to free up time to make money. So then the money that I made, I put it back into the capital markets, and then I pulled it, or excuse me, down to the right side of the risk pyramid into investing. When I make money off the investing, I put it back into systems and processes that make more money, and then I repeat the process. So now the next phase is we're going to be going into real estate, right? So I have the speculative asset crypto investing, right? The markets, the volatile markets, where when it goes up in 2024 to 2026, I'll pull profits. I put it down into some security where I can borrow tax free, compound interest, and compound tax. What is secure, compound, tax free, and then also borrow against it. So borrow against it. What else? An index in the market. So I'm getting market like returns, and then that's part of my strategy. And then real estate will give me price appreciation, depreciation, and maybe some money off the doors. I'm not too worried about that. And then the businesses, I'll continue to expand and grow, and then build some of them to sell, right, to do exits. And so do you see the difference is if you're in a strategy where it's like, oh my God, I'm in my job and hopefully crypto is going to be my savior. That's an indoctrination model. Now, I'm not saying like everybody's like, you have to have 7 lines of income to become a millionaire. I'm starting to mature in that. Like I had 7 companies last year, and maybe it was ego. I don't know. But now we're down to 6, 3 of them are in profit. 3 of them are doing very, very well. I did a bunch of startups, not recommended. Maybe it was ego. I don't know. I'm learning, I'm growing. Right. And so everybody, cause I hear this indoctrination of you have to have 7 streams of income to become a millionaire. No, it's actually better to get really good at something, and double down on it. So I have my insurance arm of my company, which is completely separate from my 3T. 3T, I'm all in on 3T, which is our company. We're expanding that into 3T Media. And then we have Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto, is doing phenomenal. And then I have my Refined Integrity brand, right, which is a passion brand. And I'm just going all in on those, right? And then I have Freedom Asset Management Group, which is per se a company. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring these things to you guys and share with you guys the woes that I've gone through, and the things that I've changed to get there, because I don't want you to make the same mistake, because I hear this all the time, like, oh, an XRP, I'm like going to get my mansion, and you see people, I'm going to get my Lambo. All that stuff should be bought with assets. The money that you gain, the wealth that you gain, I mean, some people are just going to leave it in the market. It's going to go up and go down, which is fine if you want to hold it long term. But I'm holding 50% long term. I'm getting 50% of this profit out, and I'm putting it in things that secure, compound, and grow. And then if I want a Lambo, I'm going to buy it with an asset, right? And then on top of all of that, I set up the Rockefeller Waterfall Trust system. So I set up my Dynasty Trust for my family, so it encompasses all of that, so that when I pass away, there's rules and regulations in place, so my legacy will continue. So a lot of information. Hopefully that helps to understand. I'm just going to keep sharing with you guys the mistakes that I made and then what I did to correct those. And as I continue, like I'm moving into real estate, and I'm not a real estate expert, but I'm surrounded by people in my community that are. So that makes me feel very comfortable. I'm not passionate about real estate, so I'm going to build a team that can help me with that, because I'm learning that if I'm not passionate about something, I don't want to go all in on it. I would rather pay people a percentage to do the things that they love, right? And allow me to make a little bit less, but also make sure that it's done correctly, if that makes sense, right? I was trying to be an expert at everything. I'm really good at I'm really good at vision. I'm a visionary. I'm a CEO. I'm a great visionary. I'm great at predicting the future by studying the past. I'm great at understanding waves of energy, right? That's why I've done really well in crypto and these types of markets, because I understand, I can feel when these things are going to start to come down. I can feel when they start to go up, and I have very strict discipline. I exit the markets properly. So that was a lot of information, but I love you guys. I appreciate you. If you guys need any support, click the link down below. There's a needs assessment you'll fill out, right? And based on what you use, a lot of people are asking me questions about how I insure my wealth. I'm a licensed insurance agent. I have agents in all 50 states and Canada. You can click on that thing, or you can just fill out the needs assessment. Basically, it gives kind of like what you need, and then one of my team members will reach out to you and share with you how we do these things. So I love you guys. I appreciate that's in the description of this video or in my social media platform. Click the link, and we'll get the proper team member to reach out to you. Be careful of scammers. We don't invest people's money. We do not have an investment platform. That's not us reaching out to you asking about your crypto. Those are all scammers. So love you guys. Appreciate you. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. Let's go.